Bo had done an interview, and this is very light, right? I'm critical of Bo. I'm critical of Bo as a fan. I'm critical because I care. I'm critical because we're from the wrestling world and he's younger than me, which comes with a responsibility to me. Like that's the way our sport works. If I can look after him, I have to look after him. It's the way it works. He will have guys just like that. They're still in their way up, but I just share that because when Bo did an interview, he said two things. I did not like either of them. He said, I have time. No, you don't. He finished the interview by saying, I'm going hunting. And I'm going hunting is a big statement, just so you understand. Right? That means you're out somewhere, you're inaccessible. That's what that is to represent. I'm hunting, I'm camping. I mean, they're in line. And so when I heard from Bo yesterday, this was very good news. Oh, by the way, he cut a promo on Chimaev. Talked about Chimaev's wrestling specifically. And he said every 9-year-old in Pennsylvania can do what he can do. He said if I was to wrestle him, I would technical fall him in a minute. He says all he does is fake. Fake is, think of like a feint in boxing or something. Fake is a wrestling term. That might sound light to you, by the way. That might sound like there was no 4-letter words, there was no direct challenge. That's strong language. From one wrestler to another wrestler, I can finish you in a minute. Is strong language. And you guys know of Chimaev as the fighter, right? I mean, that's where you heard from him. But Chimaev was ever bit the committed wrestler as anyone you've seen. Ever bit the same aspirations, the same training environment, the same high-level coaches, pursuing the same world and Olympic dreams. He got out a little bit young. He got a little bit younger than guys make those teams, but he made it very far. I used to know, I looked up Chimaev's wrestling credentials. This is off the top of my head, but it's like he was a 3-time Swedish champion. But before he did this for Sweden, he competed for Russia in their junior level. So junior guys, a couple years later, they go become the Olympic guys. It's the same guys. And he got third. And I caught a training clip of Chimaev and Anisov. And I mean, it was great. I can just tell you, it was great. He's got the endurance. He's got the positions. He's got the attitude. He's got the playfulness. He's got the technique. He's got the strength. He's got the leverage. Like, man, this guy can wrestle. And it's something that's very important to him. It's something he committed a big part of his life to. And now he's got a guy saying he could beat him, saying his skills are that of a 9-year-old. I mean, I'm just sharing for you, like, it's a big deal. Bo might have said it in a nice way, but he's coming after him pretty hard. And I believe, I'd just like to do a quick tail of the tape for you guys, because I believe that you think, okay, I got this young guy, I got this Bo Nickal, he's this young up-and-comer, he's coming after the seasoned veteran. Man, it's not like that. I'm not sure Bo's not a year older. I think they're the same age. In fact, if I really had to bet, I think Chimaev's 1 year older, but you get the same thing, right? And I could even have, and Bo's a year older. I'm just sharing for you, right? Like, Chimaev is this young guy. These guys could have very easily crossed paths. Oh, it looks like they're going to. And I'm most curious of how Chimaev is going to handle this. I mean, Chimaev has issued a lot of challenges, but he has never been challenged. He has had guys say they want to fight him. He's had guys say, I will fight him. That's a very big difference. Very big difference than being taunted, being called out straight up. A prediction being put on it. I'll finish you in a minute. And there's ways to do this, Ron. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I know that we want to see them fight, and it seems as though we should see them fight. Right now, that's not where we are. Right now, we're just in the media. Bo has struck. Chimaev needs to respond. This is in parallel, okay? This was in unison that this interview gets put out that I just quoted Bo for you. In unison with Paulo Costa pulling off the Salt Lake card and claiming on Twitter that he's now available, that he pulled off that fight to take on Chimaev. Now, Paulo Costa has a little hint of Chael Sonnen in him, which means when he says something, is he revealing news or is he attempting to entertain? Some will call it a troll when you do it on the internet. It's very hard to figure out why Paulo Costa would have pulled out the fight. Oh, by the way, it's not so they can move it to another date, which is what they've been doing lately. When you lose a big fight, they've just been moving it to another card. It's not the way it used to be. In early Dana White days, he would preserve the card as best he could, which means if one guy came off, then one guy stays, and they would find a replacement. But that's not what they've done over the last 6-7 years. They've just been moving the entire fight. Well, hey, that's the fight that we want. That's the fight that we're going to take that fight. We're just going to do it over here. But that's not what happened. They quickly replaced the opponent. And that's telling, though. That's a big clue, right? We got to look at the clues. And even when we have the clues, we're then left with a guess. We don't have the answer. Paulo has never done a great job of being clear with us, which is why when he comes out in record time of 5 minutes and tells us that he is now preserving himself to take on Chimaev, that's why that's hard. That's hard. Had he said nothing, it would lean more towards, okay, this is a possibility. But because he said he was going to, and this again doesn't tell us much, right? So I reached out to Captain E right away. Screenshot the tweet, sent it right to him. Hey, is this true? Captain E gets back to me like this, man. I know him 20 years. And he didn't get back to me at all. Right? And there's an answer within the silence. You ever asked a girl out? She didn't call you back. She didn't get back to you. You have your answer. Right? You don't need to call her back and say, hey, did you get my message? That's your answer. You've got it. So what do I make from that? What do I make from he didn't get back to me? And if Paulo Costa is to fight Chimaev, why the switch? Why? And if Paulo Costa is to fight Chimaev, what about Jared Cannonier? Was that rumor just never true? I mean, Jared's another one that it's hard to get an audience with him. So Jared knew this rumor was going around, and a lot of guys would come out and they would dispel it, or they kind of give it a thumbs up, give you a wink, radio silence. But that's his style. Like there was nothing out of the ordinary to attempt to judge from. So what do you guys think, right? And what do you want to happen? I mean, just think about it from this perspective. If Cannonier was supposed to fight Chimaev, and Cannonier doesn't get hurt, there's nothing like that. They come in and told me, we're not going to do that. We're going to take Paulo Costa and stick him over there. There's times where you got to shuffle the deck. There's times where you get it wrong, and there's data analysis, and there's ways to look at it where you can hedge your bet. It's a little bit safer business today with the data that we have. But that fight was never announced. There's no pool. There is no data. There was no, hey, this card needs strengthened. There would be no kind of focus group to look at to come to that conclusion. So, guys, what I'm trying to ask you, we know Chimaev doesn't have an official announcement. We know there's no bout agreement signed for Chimaev. We know the rumor that he will be fighting in Abu Dhabi. We know that that's supposed to be in October, and it's supposed to be a co-main event underneath Islam versus Charles, which we know isn't going to happen, right? I mean, the whole thing is this colossal net of what's not happening. We're looking at all the things that aren't going to happen as a way of working backwards to figure out what's going to happen. Now, nobody's wrong here. That's in October. The UFC doesn't start promoting and putting out information. I mean, there's nothing off here. But this is just one of those that we keep looking at. And if this is, in fact, the case, do you want Paulo to have the fight? Because we sure as hell did. We sure did 2 months ago. Oh, man, we couldn't wait for this fight. Remember, they had the face-off, something at the PI, and it was Paulo Costa and Jake Shields and Chimaev and the boys rolling. I mean, right? Some things they have to be answered for. That's one of them. And they didn't break the rule, which is they didn't commit a crime, meaning they didn't touch each other. This is not a three-piece and a soda. This was an organic Shannon match. Oh, you can book a fight off that. You can't book a fight off an assault of three-piece and a soda. That's why you never saw that fight. Never saw that fight. Right? You would take a crime that was committed and you would reward it. So it appears, the only thing that we know is it appears that Chimaev still doesn't have a partner. We heard it was Canair. Now we're being told it's Paulo, but we heard it from Paulo, who likes to have fun with us, at the same time that Bo Nickal is openly challenging him. There's no part of me that thinks Chimaev's going to let that slide. Just so you know. I don't know what he's going to respond or how he's going to respond. He might take an approach of blowing Bo off. That could happen. But there will be a response in some fashion, and it's coming soon.